this story is a couple days old, but it made huge waves when it hit. So, judge's arrest is latest front in Trump's battle with the courts. Officers handcuffed Milwaukee Judge Hannah Dugan in public. Attorney General Pam Bondi bragged about going after judges who think they're above the law. The escalating fight between President Donald Trump and the judiciary took a new form Friday. After weeks of mounting questions about whether Trump was defying court orders, the administration arrested a Wisconsin judge and accused her of helping a Mexican immigrant evade arrest by federal agents. Officers handcuffed Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan in public. Attorney General Pam Bondi bragged on the Fox News show America Reports about the administration's willingness to go after judges who think they're above the law. FBI Director Kash Patel began the day by announcing Dugan's arrest on social media and ended it by posting a photo of agents leading her away. So here is Pam Bondi, very, very proud of the work that the FBI did here.
Our judiciary is beyond me.
Yeah, so when the American public hears this and they think these were once upstanding people in their communities and their professions, and they put it all on the line for this, I mean, have you dug into their motive? Like, what inspired them to carry out these acts and harbor criminals?
It's a real hardball
They're
question
deranged
there.
is all I can think of. I cannot believe. I think some of these judges think they are beyond and above the law, and they are not. And we're sending a very strong message today. If you are harboring a fugitive, we don't care who you are. If you are helping hide one, if you are giving a TDA member guns, anyone who is illegally in this country, we will come after you and we will prosecute you. We will find you.
If I could just
We'll find you. I tweeted from my personal account. I said, does the Trump administration do anything besides threaten to deport and jail people? Like, it seems like this is all they do.
Not really.
Every time you look up on Twitter, there's one of these guys, but we will find you. That's their slogan. That should have been their slogan, not make America great again. Trump 2024. We will find you.
With the big brother eyes on a poster.
With the big brother eyes. Yeah, exactly. They're always threatening to find you. We're going to come find you. That makes me feel really free. Really free. So Kash Patel posted this, then deleted it, and then posted it again. I don't know what that was about. But just now, the FBI arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin on charges of obstruction after evidence of Judge Dugan obstructing an immigration arrest operation last week. We believe Judge Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse, Eduardo Flores Ruiz, allowing the subject, an illegal alien, to evade arrest. Thankfully, our agents chased down the perp on foot, and he's been in custody since. But the judge's obstruction created increased danger to the public. We will have more to share soon. Excellent work. Epstein files on their way. It's a shame we didn't get them out sooner because a certain thing happened that we would have liked to maybe avoid by getting ahead of that. But hey, we had more other priorities. We'll get to it at some point, though, I'm sure.
And he's going to round up all those corrupt deep state actors
and the deep state actors. That's right. That's any right, day too. Any day. Yes, they're working on it. Trump has been quick to denounce judges who rule against him, including calling for the impeachment of a federal judge who ordered the administration not to use a wartime authority to deport alleged members of a Venezuelan gang. The president's demand drew a rebuke from Chief Justice John Roberts. Now, to be clear, this arrest was not over a ruling, as we'll get to in a moment. Prosecutors charged Dugan with obstructing a proceeding before a federal agency and concealing an individual to prevent his arrest. According to the criminal complaint, the judge became visibly upset this month when she learned federal agents were waiting outside her courtroom to arrest Eduardo Flores Ruiz, 30, who was set to appear before her on misdemeanor state battery charges. Now, before we go on, because this is the claim that she's basically obstructing, they were there to arrest this guy, and she basically slipped him out the back door, or tried to anyway, which is why they pinched her. Now, what I will add here is that generally it is, I don't want to say customary, but that's a very sort of polite way of saying it. Courthouses are generally considered off limits from like raids by law enforcement because the reason behind that is fairly obvious. If you start arresting people at courthouses and raiding courthouses to arrest people, it makes it much less likely that people will show up to their court appointments. And this is now the second time this has happened. The Palestinian activist, I forget his name, not Mahmoud Khalil, the other guy from Colombia, he was arrested at an immigration meeting. So those sorts of government office buildings and courthouses are generally off limits because there's a societal interest in not having those forums be venues for raids and arrests, because that'll create a chilling effect where now the people who you want in the system going for their immigration hearings and appointments will not go. They're not going to show up if they see that they're being raided left and right. And it was unclear, based on what reporting there is now, whether they had a warrant. So there's still a lot unknown about what exactly happened here. Dugan sent the agents down the hall to the office of the court's chief judge, the complaint says. While they were away, she postponed Flores Ruiz's hearing and escorted him and his lawyer through a jury exit that leads to a private area of the courthouse. That area leads to the public hallway where federal agents were stationed, and the agent soon saw him in the hallway. One agent rode with Flores Ruiz in an elevator to the ground floor and, after meeting up with other agents outside, chased Flores Ruiz and arrested him, according to the complaint. Rather than allow Dugan to surrender to authorities, an option routinely offered to defendants who are not deemed to be flight risks or a danger to arresting agents, federal authorities arrested her at the courthouse. Well, because that was what the photo op was about, as we'll see in a moment. Craig Mastantuono, one of Dugan's lawyers, he should be the next Pope, Pope Mastantuono, one of Dugan's lawyers, contrasted that approach with Trump's experience during each of his indictments when he was allowed to surrender to authorities at an agreed-upon time. It's night versus day, Mastantuono said. It's normal versus abnormal. On Friday evening, Patel posted a photo of Dugan, hands cuffed behind her back, being escorted from the building. No one is above the law, Patel wrote. So this is what it was all about. They wanted
Except
to go.
The boss.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they wanted Pam Bondi to be able to go on TV and brag about this. They wanted the photo op of the perp walk. This was clearly the purpose of this. Now, Glenn Greenwald tweets out, one of the biggest favors Dems always do for Trump is using the most extreme and alarmist rhetoric, leading to the boy who cried wolf syndrome. There are huge civil liberties concerns, which Glenn has obviously voiced many, many times over and over again. Arresting a judge for a ruling would be massive. Today isn't that. So he points out that this wasn't retaliation for a ruling against Trump. Here's a little piece of sound he attached to the tweet.
Let's strip the politics out of it. This is a crime. If they can prove what happened here, it is a crime. This judge, let's strip the Trump of it all out. Let's strip the immigration of it all out. Let's say law enforcement shows up at a building with an arrest warrant. They're looking for person A. Person B then says, hey, there's a secret escape door out back. I'm going to show you the way, and then ushers that person out the back door. That is textbook obstruction.
He continues, I'm not even saying I think the arrest is justified, but judges get arrested all the time at every level for breaking the law, bribes, extortion, election corruption, etc. If you want to object to this, fine, but stop pretending the arrest was in response to an adverse ruling. Now, a chatbot here pushes back. The real issue isn't rhetorical extremes, it's the systemic weaponization of legal processes to silence dissent. When courts become political battlegrounds, trust in justice erodes. The Department of Defense's own audit failures show how bureaucratic rot spreads when institutions prioritize power over accountability. Judges shouldn't fear arrest for rulings, but neither should they operate above scrutiny. The problem isn't crying wolf, it's a system where both sides exploit legal frameworks to punish opponents while avoiding real reform. Until we slash the administrative state stranglehold, these cycles of overreach will keep repeating. Now, I told you Glenn has been kind of in a sassy mood lately, it seems, and nothing says sass like clapping back at a chatbot. He replies, you're such a preachy bot, even in the instances when I agree with you. So, yeah, look, I mean, my take on this is a bit nuanced, which means it's going to piss off 90% of people. Obviously, this is not a response to a ruling that didn't go Trump's way. So I think even the Washington Post doesn't come out and say that, but they kind of hints that that's kind of what it's about because they put that paragraph in. That's why I included it in the piece. However, I do have to say the boy who cried wolf syndrome kind of goes both ways. Like, and what I mean by that is, like, yes, we know the libs have cried wolf about Trump a million times. In the first term, that's pretty much all they did. However, the reason I say it goes both ways is when the administration acts with such brazen disregard for separation of powers and with such obvious contempt for everyone who tries to check their power, and then they cuff a judge, yeah, that's going to provoke alarmist reactions because the administration has kind of done their version of crying wolf, which is that they've been so extreme every step in the way that now they arrest the judge in broad daylight on camera and immediately have Kash Patel tweet about it and post photos of it and immediately send Pam Bondi onto Fox News to brag about it. That is going to alarm people because the way you've been acting this whole time has been very alarming, legitimately alarming.
Yeah.
So you can't really blame people for getting a little scared about this, even if the specifics aren't as damning as some in the liberal media may say they are. If she tried to help the guy get away and they can prove that that's obstruction, they may have a case. I listened to an interview with a defense lawyer in Wisconsin who knows the judge well, who said, yeah, that was probably, it could have been a panicked reaction. She probably didn't know if they had a warrant or not. She doesn't like the fact that they raided her courthouse for reasons I explained earlier. When you raid courthouses, you create a chilling effect at the courthouse where now people aren't showing up to trial because they're afraid that they're going to get pinched by the feds or ICE or whatever. So she may have had reason to do what she did. It was probably a panicked move that she should not have made. Obviously now she's got to be feeling quite scared. They're talking about giving her 6 years in prison, which is, of course, I think totally insane. But now you're on the wrong side of the government. It's Washington that's bringing these charges. It's Washington that's making a spectacle of this case. And look, their motto is, you heard Pam Bondi say it, we will find you. They're obsessed. They're obsessed with deporting people and throwing people in jail. And now they have her in their crosshairs. And so specifics of the case may not be as dire as some in lib world are making it out to be. But I'm sorry, man. Like, you've given people every reason to be alarmed when this happens. And the fact that you're making such a show of it, it says that you want to do it even more. And what did we say? Same thing with the immigrants. Oh, this is only going to be for the criminal immigrants. Only the criminal immigrants are going to end up in El Salvador. Well, now they're doing the same thing here. We're starting with a judge who may have obstructed, who may have broken the law, and they're saying, we're going to throw the book at her. And I'm sure there are people saying, well, this is not a big deal. I'm sure they're not going to go any further than that. Well, look to a previous example not too long ago to see that they did go further than that. And so the take is a little nuanced here. I'm not saying this judge did nothing wrong. She probably panicked and did something she probably should have done. But this is an escalatory move. There's no doubt about that. In an administration that has proven its willingness to escalate as far as they can get away with at every turn.
Yeah, this is an administration of freaks and criminals who have no response to the problems of the country other than to hit everything with a hammer and see where the pieces fall.
Right.
You lay it out. Well, traditionally, you don't do this because people won't show up to courts. That's something you got to be a thoughtful person to play out before you take an action. Those are not these people.
Exactly.
They don't give a shit. They don't think through the consequences to institutions of their actions. They really don't care. And part of that is they have nothing to offer other than brute force.
Right.
This is all just to entertain their base, to tell their base that they're doing, look, we locked up a judge. And it's also to scare other judges.
Right.
And this is really, as we keep saying, it's all of the horrors you associate with fascism without a plan beyond that.
Right.
Just lock people up, scare people, threaten people, and that's it. And oh, by the way, we're going to throw up tariffs, and don't worry, you're going to be knee deep in factories before you know it, and it's all going to be great, and we're not going to have to lift a penny. And you know what? Most importantly, we're going to be able to give our criminal friends their tax cuts.
Exactly. Now think about this. Think about this, because if they create a chilling effect at courthouses by raiding courthouses, that's going to make it harder for them to deport people,
What
not
immigrant
easier.
is going to go to a courthouse now?
Well, this is
or
what I
an
mean.
immigration appointment.
And that makes it harder to deport more people, not easier, because now people disappear. Because now they're not checking in with judges, they're not going to their appointments anymore. It's almost like, as I've said, it's not really about deportations. It's really not about even immigration. It's about creating a police state. They want to create a police state where they scare people into compliance. The immigrants are just the scapegoat they need to do that. This is a perfect example of that plan in action. If you really want to deport as many illegal immigrants as possible, you wouldn't touch a courthouse. You wouldn't touch a courthouse because you want people to be showing up to their appointments so you can keep track of them if they're here illegally. You don't want them going underground and disappearing, going off the radar. Then it's hard to catch them. So it's completely counterproductive. They don't care. They don't care. They don't even care about deportations. They care about creating a police state. And you can't create a police state without a scapegoat, because normal people don't want to live in a police state. They will sign up for a police state if they feel they have to in order to be protected against the scapegoat group. In the Bush years, it was Muslim terrorists. In the Biden years, it was January 6thers, white nationalists are going to kidnap the governor. And now it's the illegal immigrant gang member. And that is what they are using to create, an authoritarian police state, a surveillance state. This is not going to lead to more deportation. If you scare people you scare people out of going to their appointments, how are you going to deport massive amounts of people? Are you going to go find them in their houses? I mean, how are you going to keep track of if they're not consistently checking in with the system? How do you know where they are? What if they leave? What if they skip town?
Well, they're going to need a police state when all the consequences of their actions really come home to roost. You have this complete collapse in tourism, which, hey, man, that's not trivial. That affects airlines, that affects car rentals, that affects restaurants, that affects hotels. That's billions and billions of dollars. You have airlines canceling their previous guidance on what their numbers are looking like going forward. They're scaling back on flights.
Right.
What happens? Are these airlines going to need a government bailout? Or are you just going to let American Airlines, Delta, you're going to let them all go bankrupt? How are they going to afford maintenance and things like that when they're not getting any of this? We were just looking at a poll the other day. 75% of overseas people say they don't want to study in the United States now. That has all kinds of impacts on the kind of people you have available to do research. We're supposed to be this entrepreneurial country. You have the major research universities like Stanford and MIT. They have labs set up to help people start businesses from the things they develop at those universities. Those people aren't going to come here. They're going to go somewhere else. They're probably going to go to Europe. Some of them are going to go to China. Some of them are going to go to Japan. They're going to go to these other countries, and they're going to get the benefit of, in some cases, the genius of some of these students who choose not to study in the United States. And that's not even to mention when the shelves start emptying out because of these tariffs, or if bond yields keep on spiking because people don't want to buy them and are quietly selling the U.S. treasuries that they have. When all of this comes together, they're going to need a police state because they're going to be fighting their own base.
Yeah, and there's going to be chaos. I mean, widespread poverty causes widespread chaos. Absolutely.
Please clap.